Hi, this week's book bite is Peak by Roland Smith. And this is the story of a boy named Peak who gets into a little bit of trouble. And so his father, who hasn't seen in a really long time, comes to talk to him. His father is about to climb Mount Everest. And so he brings Peak along with him. And Peak is very excited because if they get to the top of Mount Everest, he'll be the youngest person to ever make it to the top. And so this is his story as he attempts to climb Mount Everest. The assignment. My name is Peak. Yeah, I know, weird name. But you don't get to pick your name or your parents, or a lot of other things in life for that matter. It could have been worse. My parents could have named me Glacier or Abyss or Crampon. I'm not kidding. According to my mom, all those names were on the list. Vincent, my literary mentor, at your school, this would be your English teacher, asked me to write this for my year end assignment. No grades at our school. When Vincent reads the sentence you just read, he'll say, Peak, that is a run on sentence and chaotically parenthetical. That's how he talks, meaning it's a little confusing and choppy. And I'll tell him that my life is parenthetical and the chaos is due to the fact that I'm starting this assignment in the back of a Toyota pickup in Tibet, aka China, with an automatic pencil that doesn't have an eraser, and it's not likely that I'm going to find an eraser around here. Vincent has also said that a good writer should draw the reader in by starting in the middle of the story with a hook, then go back and fill in what happened before the hook. Once you have the reader hooked, you can write whatever you want as you slowly reel them in. I guess Vincent thinks readers are fish. If that's the case, most of Vincent's fish have gotten away. He's written something like 20 literary novels, all of which are out of print. If he knew what he was talking about, why do I have to search the dark, moldering aisles of a used bookstore to find his books? Now I've done it. But remember this, Vincent. Writers should tell the brutal truth in their own voice and not let individuals, society, or consequences dictate their words. And you thought no one was listening to you in class. You also know that I really like your books, or I wouldn't waste my time trying to find them. Nor would I be trying to get the story down in the back of a truck in Tibet. Speaking of which, this morning we slowed down to get around a boulder the size of a school bus that had fallen in the middle of the road. In the USA, we would use dynamite or heavy equipment to move it. In Tibet, they use picks, sledgehammers, and prisoners in tattered quilted coats to chip the boulder down to nothing. The prisoners smiled at us as we tried not to run over their shackled feet in the narrow road. Their cheerful faces were covered in nicks and cuts from the rock shrapnel. Those not chipping used crude wooden wheelbarrows to move the man-made gravel over to the potholes, where very old Tibetan prisoners used battered shovels and rakes to fill in the holes. Chinese soldiers in green uniforms and with rifles slung over their shoulders stood around 50-gallon burn barrels smoking cigarettes. The prisoners looked happier than the soldiers did. I wonder if the boulder would be gone by the time I came back through. I wondered if I'd ever come back through. The hook. I was only two-thirds up the wall when the sleet started to freeze onto the black terracotta. My fingers were numb, my nose was running. I didn't have a free hand to wipe my nose or even rope to rappel about 500 feet to the ground. I had planned everything out so carefully, except for the weather, and now it was uh-oh time. A gust of wind tried to peel me off the wall. I dug my fingers into the seam and hugged the terracotta until it passed. I should have waited until June to make the ascent. But no, Moron has to go up in March. Why? Because everything was ready and I have a problem with waiting. I had studied the wall, built all my custom protection, and picked the date. I was ready. And the date passed, I thought I might not try it at and if the date passed, I might not try it at all. It doesn't take much to talk yourself out of a stunt like this. That's why there are over 6 billion people sitting safely inside homes. And one moron, I shouted. Option number 1, finish the climb. 264 feet up, or about 100 precarious finger holds providing my fingers didn't break off like icicles. Option 2, climb down, a little over 500 feet, 250 finger holds. Option 3, wait for rescue. Scratch that option. No one knew I was on the wall. By morning, providing someone actually looked up and saw me, I would be an icy gargoyle. And if I lived, my mom would drop me off the wall herself. Up it is then. I timed my moves between vicious blasts of wind, which were becoming more frequent the higher I climbed. The sleet turned to hail, pelting me like a swarm of frozen hornets. But the worst happened about 30 feet from the top, 15 measly finger holds away. I had stopped to give the lactic acid searing my shoulders and arms a chance to simmer down. I was mouth breathing, partly from exertion, partly from terror, and I told myself I would make the final push as soon as I caught my breath. While I waited, a thick mist drifted in around me. The top of the wall disappeared, which was just as well. When you're tired and scared, 30 feet looks about the length of 2 football fields, and that can be pretty demoralizing. Scaling a wall happens 1 foothold and 1 handhold at a time. Thinking beyond that can weaken your resolve, and it's your will that gets you to the top as much as your muscles and climbing skills. Finally, I started breathing through my runny nose again, kind of snorting really, but I was able to close my mouth every other breath. This is it, I told myself. 15 more handholds and I've topped it. I reached up for the next seam and encountered a little snag. Well, a big snag, really. My right ear and cheek were frozen to the wall. To reach the top, you must have resolve, muscles, skill, and a face. Mine was anchored to that wall like a bolt, and a portion of it stayed there when I gathered enough resolve to tear it loose. Now I was mad, which was exactly what I needed to finish the climb. Cursing with every vertical lunge, I stopped about 4 feet below the edge, tempted to tag this monster with the blood running down my neck. But instead, I took the mountain stencil out of my pack. Cheating, I know, but you have to have 2 free hands to do it freehand. Slapped it on the wall and filled it in with blue spray paint. This is when the helicopter came up behind me and nearly blew me off the wall. You are under arrest, an amplified voice shouted above the deafening rotors. I looked down. Most of the mist had been swirled away by the chopper rotors, and for the first time in an hour, I could see the busy street 800 feet below the skyscraper. A black rope dropped down next to me, and 2 alarmed and angry faces leaned over the edge of the roof. Take the rope. I wasn't about to take the rope 4 feet away from my goal. I started up. Take the rope. When my head reached the top of the railing, they hauled me up and cuffed my wrists behind my back. They were wearing SWAT gear and NYPD baseball caps, and there were a lot of them. One of the cops leaned close to my bloody ear. What were you thinking? He said, and then jerked me to my feet and handed me off to a regular street cop. Get this moron to emergency. So to find out what happens to Peak once he is taken by the police after climbing the skyscraper, and more about his adventure as he climbs Mount Everest, you can request to have Peak delivered to you by using the book dash order form, and I will be happy to deliver it to you.